Hey, everybody, welcome inside the sit down. Brian Mayer, now joined by the general manager for the LA Current in the International Swimming League, Lenny Krayzelburg. Lenny, thank you so much for joining me all the way from Budapest. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate the time. Excited to be here with you.
So, just first off, before we get into anything else, the semifinal weekend coming up this upcoming weekend, obviously, but before we get into the in the pool aspect of things, I just wonder what your experience has been like throughout the course of this condensed season for the ISL within the bubble to make sure, obviously, that everybody's safe, but just what that experience has been like.
Yeah, it's definitely been a very interesting experience. Obviously, all of us are living through an uncertainty or something we've never experienced before. And going into this season, there were a lot of question marks about whether that would even happen. And when we arrived here, it was actually very impressive in terms of the organizational component of it, to be able to get everyone settled into two hotels that are literally next to each other on an island in
Yeah.
Budapest. So we're in a very nice confined space with great accommodations, and just felt like all the details were covered to make sure that everyone feels safe and comfortable, because obviously that was the main concern or main issues that everyone was thinking maybe weren't necessarily vocal, but certainly in the back of
For
everyone's
sure.
mind.
And obviously, it's been a very successful season to this point for you guys. You've now made it to the point where we're getting to the semifinals. So, just as we get into this semifinals weekend, of course, your team going to be a part of one of those. I just wonder what swimmers, both A, from your squad, and B, across the league, have really stood out to you over the course of this 4 weeks, now going into 5 weeks of competition.
Well, we as a team are really excited to get through the regular season and to be swimming in a playoff in the semifinals. That was definitely the goal when I put the team together for this upcoming season, to have the depth and the strength to advance through the regular season into the playoffs, obviously. And so we really accomplished our first goal, and now we're refocusing and making sure that we're getting ready for the semifinal. All the athletes here are just fortunate and excited to be here. Obviously, as a competitor, as a professional athlete, you live for the moment of competition. And for the past 7-8 months, all these athletes didn't have that opportunity. So when everyone got here, I mean, they were just thankful to start racing again. And you could really tell. I mean, if you just notice the first matches, the first races, people were just so excited and swimming some really great times because they needed to get that energy out.
Right.
And then obviously people have settled in, and but for most part perform pretty consistently throughout the past month. Obviously on our team, there's Ryan Murphy and
Yep.
Tom Shields and Beryl Gastudello and Abby Weitzel have really stood out, that are the stars of our team, that really lived up to expectations that we had for them, and really been the driving force and leaders for our team. And the rest of the team really kind of got behind the energy and the results that our stars have brought in. And that's the reason why we performed so well to this point, and are excited about our opportunity going into the semifinal.
Yeah, and you mentioned something interesting there that I wanted to get your thoughts on, because in this particular year, as you talked about, for 7 or 8 months, there wasn't much in the way of competition for these athletes, especially in a year when it was expected that we were going to have the Olympics, right? In Tokyo in 2020, that's now being moved back to next summer. And this league seems like, to me, a perfect opportunity for these athletes from countries all over the world to get those races that they need in ahead of the games coming up next summer, whether they're participating in them, whether they're part of a team that's training for people that are participating in them. Just what have you seen? What have you talked about with these athletes in terms of using this competition, both A, to go out and win in the spirit of competition, but also B, as a training point as well going forward?
Well, this is exactly the reason why having this season was so crucial.
Mm,
ISL understood the importance of it. There aren't any other international competitions uh, on the docket, and they weren't going to be. So to make sure the season happens and put all the resources behind it was really important to get athletes trust, credibility, and appreciation. And athletes have really shown that. And now for the athletes themselves racing here and competing, absolutely. I mean, you can train all you want, but it's not going to substitute for the opportunity to race and race against the best in the world.
right.
And this is what's happening for the next, for this period of this 6 weeks, if we include semifinals and finals, where you're racing against the best in the world. You're basically racing 99% of those that you're going to have to race in Tokyo next summer. So you're preparing through racing, you're preparing through observing how your
Exactly.
competitors are training, how they're eating, how they're living. So if you're smart athlete and it's not only about what you do in the water, but how your whole package of how do you prepare yourself, how strong you are mentally, then this is a great opportunity to play some mind games as well. And I talk to a lot of our athletes. I mean, this is where you can play those mind games, and you can position yourself in a way where your competitors are looking at you and are worrying about you, how you are here and how you're going to be in Tokyo next summer.
And I also think that, especially this season, the competitors that maybe aren't necessarily part of the league this year, having the opportunity to look at it from the outside looking in, may in the future look at ISL and go, you know what, that's something that I want to be a part of for those exact reasons that you talked about.
Yeah, I think the rest of the world is really watching, and those that aren't able to be here, I believe strongly regretting it, because you're just not going to get this level of competition and racing and be in this environment anywhere else. So, and then the younger ones that are potentially maybe seniors in college in the US this year, are looking at ISL. Yeah, this is where I want to be next year. This is an opportunity for me. I can't wait. I'm excited. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this transformative experience that is ISL for our sport.
And for you as the general manager, I wonder what those conversations are like when you're trying to bring in a new athlete to the team, or you're looking over your roster going into another season. This year, obviously a little bit different than you maybe expected it to be, obviously, but in the course of a normal getting ready for the season, putting that roster together, what have those conversations been like, especially now that we're talking about a league that is in year 2 and is still growing and building and finding its place overall in the international competition calendar?
Right. Well, listen, I mean, conversations obviously revolve around the fact that this is a professional league. We expect you to be professionals. We expect you to bring a professional approach to the team and to the league, and bring the mindset, because who's ever participating in the league, they are revolutionaries in terms of they're setting the trend that hopefully will take our sport to the next level. So besides the fact that they're swimming in this league, they're also leading by example for the next generation. And I think it's really important that they understand that, and I try to communicate that to each and every one of them when I recruit them, because I think that's an important part of it. In terms of putting a roster together and a team together, you're obviously looking at the strength of the team. You're looking at the results and how you're comparing to last year, and then you're evaluating where some of your weaknesses are and how can you plug those holes and bring people that can score points for you. Again, obviously the concept of the league, it's team competition, it's team
Yep.
points, so every point matters, and you got to be able to see where you can pick up some of those points. I can tell you that with this new rule that was brought into this year, the jackpot rule
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting, because we didn't really recruit a lot of athletes keeping the jackpot rule in mind because we just didn't think it would have such a tremendous impact on scoring that it does. So now for next year, strategically, now I'm looking to see who I can potentially pick up that can help us to get jack points or to avoid being jackpotted. So it's another level strategic. It's another level of thought process that has to take, and strategically, you're going to start evaluating people a lot differently than you did the previous 2 years.
For sure. And you mentioned that evolution and that growth continuing for the league here as it continues to find its footing. And I wonder for you, just take me back to the beginning a little bit. What was it like in terms of you deciding to come on and be a part of this project and be a part of that growth?
Yeah, when ISL originally approached me, I guess it's now almost 3 years,
Hmm.
2 years, 2 years. It was very eye opening. I mean, obviously, I competed in the previous generation. I understood very well as a swimmer, as a professional swimmer, that your spotlight was once every 4 years at the Olympic Games, and then 3 to 6 months afterwards, and then
Right.
everyone forgets about you, and then it's a grind for the next 4 years. And here comes a league that really is all about the athletes and trying to create an exposure for our athletes on a regular basis and trying to put them in front of millions of people on a regular basis. And it was so eye-opening and it was so refreshing to hear. It got me really excited. I mean, been a I've been a student of the sport, and I've always had a tremendous respect for the history of the sport, um, because I wouldn't be where I am without people that came before me. And I've always appreciated that, and I never took that for granted. And I felt with this opportunity, I was on the verge of playing an important role and being part of this evolution and an opportunity to take our sport to the level where we believe we deserve to be. We deserve to be in a household conversations. Why are we in a household conversation every 4 years? Why can't we be in that household conversation every year ongoing? So it was a very exciting opportunity for me. I jumped on it immediately, understanding the impact it can make, and I wanted to be part of it.
And we've talked a little bit here about some of the growth that you've already seen. Obviously, the addition of the jackpot rule this year and how that factors into things and your decision making as you continue to move forward here with the second season winding to a close. I wonder what you see maybe that can continue to be added, or where the opportunities for growth are for this league as you guys all move forward here into upcoming seasons in 2021, 22, and beyond.
Well, I think our opportunity as a league, we could still do a better job promoting ourselves, marketing ourselves, to try to be in front of people all the time. I mean, obviously, something that we all collectively have to figure out, general managers as well as the league collectively need to figure out how can we be in front of people for time periods when the season is actually not happening. So what can we do about it? And I think that's very important because being a startup, it's not easy to build an audience,
Sure.
and now you're going to have a time period where you're not competing. So we do have to become creative in terms of how do we still stay relevant and at the same time build the audience, because what we want to do going into year three, or being on the verge of starting year three, we want to have that audience already following us, and they know where to watch us, how to follow us, where to see us. So that's probably the key area that where we want to really focus on in terms of the league growth and spreading the word and I guess notoriety
For sure.
of what we want to accomplish.
Now, I want to take it back to the pool this weekend, the semifinals coming up for your team. I don't want to make you make a prediction. Obviously, that's something that you don't want to give other people bulletin board material. I'm not asking for that, but just generally for the semifinals with these 8 teams that are going to be competing over the course of those 3 days this upcoming weekend, just what are the biggest storylines or what are the biggest things that you're watching for within these matches this weekend?
Well, again, the focus is going to obviously going to have to be on our own team to make sure that we're top two in our semifinal to so we can get a chance to go to the final. We're obviously going to be watching the other semifinal just to see how that's going to play out. I think there's going to be a tremendous match between Energy Standard and London and Tokyo. Those are three teams that I think can really affect each other's scoring because they can take some points away from each other. And New York Breakers have a couple of really good stars that could take some points away. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup. For us, we're really focusing on ourselves. I mean, we obviously have done enough evaluation. We can now compare how we rank against the three other teams that we're swimming. Over the next couple of days, we're obviously going to start working on our different lineup scenarios that we want to potentially focus on and entertain, depending how the match goes. But we feel very confident. I mean, we're obviously had a great match. Our last match was very good, and we played with different events for putting some athletes in different events. And we feel very confident that we're just starting to reach our potential. And with a couple of days of rest, we're really looking forward to what we can do in the semifinals and confident that we can move on to the final.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching these events this upcoming weekend because it's going to be a lot of fun. Lenny, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And good luck to you and the current out there this weekend. All right.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.